Guys, welcome down to another episode of Progress Not Perfect. And in this episode, I am bringing two guests on to the show. Now, I know a little bit about them, but to be very honest with each and every one of you here, my intention today is to sit here and selfishly ask them all the questions that I want to know about NLP and how I can use that to improve myself and get closer to the best version of myself. And don't worry, I'm going to let you guys ask some questions as well. But my request before we get started is to set a little bit of a framework for us so we can all operate and benefit to the best. So all of you guys can comment in the chat box at any time. I encourage you to be as interactive as possible. Ask your questions, no problem. But in order to be sure that we have some flow in this conversation and all of us can walk away with something beneficial for us in our lives, I will be moderating this. So what we will do is let's ask these ladies the basics of NLP. And as we move forward, I love you guys to ask questions. And then let's take those questions and we will address those questions one by one towards the latter part of the discussion. So if you guys want to ask your questions, please do stick around until the end. So without further ado, guys, we're going to start. And today on the show, we have two ladies. And I'm sure you already saw the poster. You have somewhat of an idea of what they're doing. But let's be honest, we've heard NLP, we've heard these words like hypnotherapist, etc., etc. But how many of us really know what these professions are, right? How many of us really know, is it something that can benefit us? What's the impact? What's the research? What's the evidence? How many people have actually benefited and are living better lives as a result of this? So we are going to ask them everything so that we can walk away from here knowing what this is, knowing if it is beneficial for us, and how exactly you guys can benefit from it. Now, leaving the titles aside, I want to start with Sabahat. And the reason I want to start with Sabahat is to let all of you know that we're going to call her Sab for today's discussion to keep it simple, because she's given us a heads up that people find it difficult sometimes to remember. So, Sab, I want to start this discussion with you. And the first question I want to ask you is nothing related to NLP, right? Okay. See, people have seen your profile, they've seen your credentials, maybe even some of them have benefited from your work already.
Yeah.
But the question I want to ask you is, leaving your profession aside, if I asked you, who are you? How would you answer that question?
So I feel that, I all my life, I've invested my time and energy in my house. But I've always been passionate to help others and, contribute in a good way in our society. So I was introduced to this program through a friend. I took some sessions and I enjoyed everything thoroughly. And I decided to, from that point, I decided that I have to study it myself and I have to help others, because it was such an amazing journey for me. And even learning everything and helping my clients, it's like every time I help others, I feel that I am able to make those positive changes in myself as well. Mute.
My apologies. All right. That's amazing. Can you tell us a little bit more about your family? And the reason I'm asking this question is this. I know that in today's discussion, that one thing that all of us always say, myself included, is I don't have time. Look, this excuse comes up a million times for all of us, even us coaches, right? And the reason I want to ask a little bit more about your personal life is so that people understand that you're not just a coach. You're not just someone who spends all day coaching and therefore you implement these things in your life. So can you tell us a little bit more about your family background? Sure. What type of a role do you play outside of being a coach?
It's a very good question, I must say, because what is happening behind this coaching, it's a lot of work. I'm a proud mother of 4 kids. My eldest is 19 and my youngest is 6. So just imagine the age gap I would have in this house. And it's just that, but the interesting thing is that by helping everybody in this house and with dealing with kids with different age group, I feel that I have a lot to offer to others. Of course, it is overwhelming at times with lots of responsibilities at home and, juggling with my responsibility as a coach and as a mother and a housewife. and as a wife. So it's difficult. But in the end, if I feel that if you love to do something, you always take out time for that. And the end result is when you see a happy client or you see a positive transformation, it is so rewarding that I'm always able to take out time for everything, alhamdulillah, so far.
Thank you, Sab. All right, for all of you who are in the chat box, right, I want you to type in and let us know, right? What are the areas in your life that you want to do more or you want to achieve more, but you feel that maybe you don't have enough time or you don't have enough support, right? Let's leave all of those excuses that we have, or we may call it reasons at this point in time, right? But let's work through it and see if we can overcome it by the end of this session. So I want you guys to put that in the chat box. Maybe you want more time to exercise. Maybe you want to take up some coaching. Maybe you want to spend more time with the kids. Maybe it's on your business, your side hustle, your job, your career, whatever that might be. Put it down in the chat box, right? So let's make it more conversational so all of y'all can really benefit from this. And now, needless to say, guys, if you were to work with these ladies otherwise, you would have to pay for their time. But they are here today and you can selfishly ask them all of your questions, right? And make the most of it. All right, cool. So I'm going to switch now to our next guest who is here today. All right. So Nazia.
Yes.
Outside of your coaching, right? And outside of all the certifications and everything that you have, if we asked you, who are you? How would you introduce yourself?
So yes, I would introduce myself as definitely a proud mom. I would say that because there was a time when I used to work in a corporate sector and I quitted my career for the sake of raising my kids. I did not want to, leave this, best part of their lives, to my work. Of course, I had this, I would say, the opportunity to do that as my husband has been so supportive in every way. So I would say that, because of that, I would say that there was a time that I personally felt overwhelmed with a lot that I quit it for the sake of, motherhood, for the sake of raising your kids. But because I felt overwhelmed at that time, I felt that, there was so much that I quit it and there was so much that I was not doing. With the help of a coach, I was able to transform myself, you see. And so I've been in that boat where people are when they quit their jobs or their careers for the sake of raising their children, or maybe for any other reason. So I've been in that boat and I realized that, what happens when you do that. There's a lot of that you have to deal with afterwards, because somewhere, somehow you're missing out on those things as well, that you are not able to continue. So I see myself as a proud mom because I don't regret my decision. Alhamdulillah, because of that, I've been able to spend quality time with my kids. And now I'm in a position when I found my ability, my strength to go out and help people who have been in the same position as I was before, years back. And now, alhamdulillah, I'm kind of really content with what I'm doing, and I'm able to help people achieve their best, through this life coaching.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Even listening to that, it really inspires me, because I always tell people, like, you might think running a business is a big deal or building a career is a big deal. And they are. I'm not saying they're not. It's not something that's easy, but just thinking that you have 2, 3, 4 lives that come under you that are absolutely your responsibility, right? Absolutely your responsibility. It's something that I can't fathom, right? I can't fathom. So I just want to start by acknowledging the both of you, right? And also really taking a moment to highlight the fact that there still are people out there who see motherhood as something that is profound, something that is above everything else. Because something that I see in today's context, while we do empower women to be a part of the workforce, I mean, there's no limitation. You can do whatever you like. I often think about how unique the role of a mother is, right? And how many people are choosing not to play that unique role in society, forgetting not only their role as an individual, but the role that a mother plays in the greater spectrum of society, right? Now, this
Absolutely.
isn't the time and place for us to go deep into that, but I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the both of you, right? And thank you for
Thank
inspiring
you.
us and being here despite all of those commitments. All right. So, guys, I'm seeing y'all putting in the reasons you are unable to commit to whatever that might be in your life in the chat box, right? I'm seeing career, I'm seeing health, upskilling, exercise, health, and relationships. Relationships is a big one these days. I was recently reading about the 4 most searched terminologies across the internet when it comes to emotions, and loneliness was amongst that, right? So I don't know how many of us realize, but despite the evolution of technology and there being so many ways for us to stay connected, the data and research is showing us that we are more disconnected than ever before. And I can see one of our participants also saying that family members are busy with their jobs, business, personal things. We lack time bonding, doing things together. There you go. All right. So we've got people here itself who are attesting to what the data and the research is showing. Okay, guys, without further ado, let's dive into the topic. So the first question, which is probably where we should start, and I'm going to direct this one to Sabs, right? I hope you're okay with us calling you Sabs. Yeah. I think I added an S there, but that's fine. All right. Yeah. So Sabs, can you help us understand what is neurolinguistic programming and how does it relate to the topic of mindset and personal transformation? So maybe we can break it down so it's easy for all of us to digest and start with the basic of what is this NLP thing?
So neuro means mind, linguistic means language, and programming means patterns and behavior. NLP was developed by Richard Bandler and John Grinder in the 1970s, who studied the patterns and behaviors of successful people, and they taught them to others. So we need to know the little bit of history over here, because that's define why it is the success rate of this program is so high. I believe that it's very fascinating to see the connection between our thoughts, my words, and our behavior. It's like a manual to our mind, which helps understand how we can improve, how we can reprogram our thinking patterns that create a positive change in our life. When it comes to mindset shift, as you asked me, and personal transformation, I feel that NLP offers a wide range of techniques and tips that can help us reshape our thoughts and beliefs. And but we need to understand one thing over here, that our thought and mind are deeply interconnected. So by improving the way we communicate to ourselves and to others, we can make remarkable changes in our life. NLP also help us in identifying our limiting beliefs that are holding us back, and it also emphasizes on setting clear goals, developing effective communication skills, and building rapport with others, which always leads to personal growth and transformation.
That's interesting. So, I mean, I like the fact that you're keeping it very simple and basic for us to understand, right? So when we say neuro, I think a lot of people get a little bit worried, they get a little bit scared, they feel like this is something very scientific, but like you very simply explained, right? What neuro represents, right? What linguistic represents and what programming represents, right? So I think for those of us who are listening, would it be right for us to think of it this way? Like, say, for example, when you take a computer or a phone, right? There are certain things that we do on this device that has been enabled. Or in other words, the reason we can do it is because someone, when creating this device, wrote a piece of software and then connected that software to the hardware, which is what we use. So you and I, as humans, we have our brain, right? Which is the organ or the hardware, right? And then we've got the mind and the thought, the subconscious mind, all of these different components of the brain, which is your code, right? Or I would even go on to say, maybe not code, but the thing that you write the code into, right? So, and then you've got this language, which is like in coding, you have different languages that people use that we can utilize to program into this. And based on how we program that, the brain is going to function, right? Which is your hardware. And as a result of that, you're going to get an output.
That's
right?
right.
So
Yeah.
is it right to say that if I have bad code, right? If I've
Yeah.
written bad code
Yeah.
into this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
My hardware, which is my brain, is going to act based on the code that I've written,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I write bad code, my brain is going to act in a bad way,
Yeah.
and the output is also going
Definitely.
to be bad. So like they say, garbage in,
Yeah.
garbage out. So
Yeah.
can you maybe give us a practical example so people here can understand of some bad code, maybe just one or two examples?
Yeah, of course I can. So
I'm sure you can give a lot, but let's keep it to
yeah,
two or three.
no, I'll just give you a very common one that, you know, you wake up in the morning and you do not wake up in a very positive state, I would say. And I would wake up in the morning and I see myself in the mirror and I would say, oh, I look ugly today. Oh, I look this. And this is something that I've told myself, just imagine with this state of mind, I will go outside and I'll meet someone. Do you think that I'll be in a good state of mind, or my behavior will be positive? Because the state that I've created myself, my internal state, I'm going to project it somewhere. So that's why I think it is very important for us to understand the importance, you know, that how are we going to change our self-talk, and it's going to project on others as well.
Okay, so I'm going to catch you there and drill a little bit deeper, right?
Okay.
So now I want people here to apply this at a practical level, because they're not NLP practitioners, right?
Yeah.
So can you give us an example, right? Let's say we've got a Sabiha, right, who came to you to work with you. Now, Sabiha's problem, like you mentioned, is when she wakes up, there are certain automatic programs. Maybe it's to say, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, or I can't overcome this problem, etc., etc., etc. Now, those of you who are listening, I want you to maybe think about what are some of these things that you keep saying to yourself in the morning, right? Maybe it's, oh, today's going to be a stressful day, or maybe, oh, I don't know what's going to happen today, or I feel so drained today. Like the first few things you might be saying to yourself early morning, right? The code that you're writing into the brain. I want you guys to think about on an individual level what's applicable to you, right? Now, Sabs, I want you to tell us, if Sabiha came to you, right? And Sabiha says, you work with her for a bit, you understand, okay, she has some negative code, right? What do we do from there? Where do we go from there?
So we need to understand one thing over here, that this negative mindset did not happen overnight. It happened over the period of maybe few months, few years. So, you know, I would say that when people come to me, they should not expect that I have a magic wand in my hand and I will just do one thing and it's going to, it's because you have been practicing something for a very long time. And now it's time to change. First, you need to get out of your comfort zone to make that change, accept it that you have to make these changes. And the next step is to work on it. So what we do is we, instead of focusing on the negatives, we shift our client on the positives. And it takes few sessions. But if the client is willing to make these changes, it's a very smooth and easy process, I would say, because there's many interventions.
I want to interrupt you there for one moment, because you said something very important. You said, if the client is willing.
Yes.
Right. Now, the reason I want to bring that up is we've all had maybe a family member, a friend, a colleague, someone who we all see that they're struggling and suffering and they need to make a change. Now, this doesn't even have to be mine. Like, it could be somebody who has diabetes who needs to eat less sugar, or someone who's overweight who needs to move more. Something that is so obvious and evident, and maybe even they know it. And we are trying so hard to change them. Like, we're telling them, make this change, do that, work with this coach, read this article, but they're just not doing it. Right. So how important is this willingness of the individual? Because I'm really seeing that from what you said, from your experience, as the cornerstone, the starting point to change. So how important is it for us as an individual to truly want to make a change?
It's like, you know, it's 100% important, I must say, because if it's not your desire, you cannot produce results. And if someone comes to me and say that my uncle is struggling with this problem and I want you to treat him, I would never treat that person until and unless that person is willing to bring that change in himself. Because otherwise, you know, it will be a waste of time for me and their money. And it's very important to step up and get out of your comfort zone. And otherwise, it's not going to work. 100% it's not going to work if you're not willing to make changes.
And in your experience, what are some signs, right? What are some signs when you're working with a client that you know he or she is really into this.
You mean to say that when they are not going to benefit from it in that kind of situation?
What I mean is some signs that when you're working with a client, that it's very clear to you that even if they're not making progress, that they really want to change. Are there like some tells or some signs that you as a coach can be like, you know what, this individual is ready and wants to change. They may not be seeing the change right now, but they really want to change.
So if they come to me and they say that they with the mindset that I would do anything and to make this change in myself, in the first talk, I will be able to tell whether this person is stubborn. If this person is adamant that, I want to have change, but I cannot do it. For instance, if someone tells me everything that is happening in my life is happening because of somebody else. If this person
no accountability
is blaming others, how can I make that change in that person? So this is very important that, I have to see, and I can actually, in only first session, it is very clear for us that whether this person is interested or not.
No, I think even everyone who's here today can relate to that, because you have that friend, you have that family member that even maybe says, I need your help. And then the moment you offer an opinion or a piece of advice, they will start by saying, no, that area is not a problem for me. So they're starting itself with a closed mindset, with some assumptions already in place. And you really see that they don't have an open mind, is what I'm hearing you say. So guys, I think one big takeaway for you is, if you want to make a change in your life, number one is you have to want it. Not your mom, not your brother, not your friend, your boss, your colleagues. No. Number one is you have to want change. Number two, as Stubbs mentioned to us, you have to have an open mind. When you walk into that coaching session, when you counsel your friend or your seniors or your superior, do not go with the assumption that you know, or do not go with the assumption that this part is right. I only want you to look at this part, right? Go with an open mind. All right, Sab, sorry, I interrupted you because I felt that was really important that our audience really grasp that.
No problem. Thank you for asking.
Okay. And Sabs, I just want to ask you one more before we move on. Let me direct this one to Nazia. She's been sitting there quietly listening to us, probably having a lot of ideas, a lot of value and insights to add in. So Nazia, I'm going to bring you back on, and I want to ask you, self-talk is a buzzword, right? Self-talk is a buzzword. You hop on Instagram or TikTok, you have people saying about, love yourself and, be who you are and, all of these things, right?
Absolutely.
What is self-talk? If I was to really start with the basics, what is it?
And I would say, in a very simple way, I can explain that self-talk is inner conversations, that we have with ourselves. Those thoughts and words we say silently in our head.
Okay.
So your inner dialogue.
Can you give us an example for our listeners? Give us an example.
Yes,
what
absolutely.
Is
Absolutely. So self-talk would be like this. Let's suppose I have to go out to a meeting. Okay. And I get dressed. I look at myself in the mirror and I have a self-talk. How am I looking? And or maybe, I'm not ready to, be in that meeting. How am I looking? I'm not looking nice. Oh no, I'm looking really smart today. All of these conversations that we have in our head, with ourselves, that, probably I can do this, I cannot do that. And even sometimes after argument, people go into self-talk. Let's suppose if I had an argument with someone,
I think we can all
and I would have
I
would have a self-talk, right away. I would think that, I did the right thing. That person said that to me first. I should have responded that way. So that is self-talk. Our inner dialogue. The way we engage our thoughts. And yes, that's how I would define it. Our inner dialogue.
Should we worry about what we say to ourselves?
Absolutely. And
why?
To be honest, it makes a huge impact on creating our mindset and our belief system.
What do you mean?
So self-talk is really important in a way, I tell you. See, how we talk to ourselves shape how we perceive everything around us. Okay. So let's suppose if I have a habit of constantly criticizing myself, doubting my own abilities, and maybe focusing on my flaws, what will it do to me? It will erode my self-esteem, right? It will bring me down. Thoughts that we repeat to ourselves over time, they become our beliefs. Do you agree with that? So let's suppose I ask you a question. Can you produce positive results with a negative mindset? Yeah, we
That's
cannot.
A tough one.
Yeah. So like, see, the thing is that if our self-talk is negative, if we have a habit of, constantly focusing on the negative part of our life, like I said, if you're more focused on your flaws, you can never create a positive mindset with a negative self-talk. And I would give you an example that you see that a lot of sports teams are hiring life coaches these days. I don't know if you know about that, but this has been going on recently. And why is it happening? Because whenever there is a failure, there's going to be a negative self-talk, right? And when there's a negative self-talk for some time, it might, become my belief that I'm not good enough. I'm not capable to achieve this. So how does a life coach keep you on the track? They help you understand. They bring this awareness to you, to your self-talk. I would say that it's really, really important that, we become aware of our inner dialogue and we use supportive and, I would say that we consciously use positive and supportive thoughts. Through that, we can actually rewire our thinking patterns. Right?
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. And guys, by the way, if you are having any questions that are popping up in your mind, I would encourage you to leave it in the chat box, because as we move through the conversation, you might forget the question, all right? Or you may have a bigger question that pops up later, but just throw it in the chat box so that maybe we can address it towards the end. Now, I'm going to put you in a little bit of a spot, and I'm going to ask you something that I think is important, because I feel otherwise people might get the wrong perception. And that question really is, Nazia, do you speak to yourself negatively?
Yes, I would say there are times when I speak to myself negatively. And to be honest, before having an awareness, I think I was speaking to myself negatively a lot, I would say. There was a pattern. I would focus more on my flaws. I had a habit of doing that. I would criticize myself a lot. Like I would constantly, see that, maybe I'm not looking smart today. I've put on weight, and especially, I just tell you one thing. A lot of people, I don't know if they come to you for losing weight, let's say, right? So what happens is when a person puts on weight, there are two ways to deal with that situation. One is, if you are a person with a positive mindset, you will have an awareness or realization that, okay, I put on weight and, I'm going to take this measure to reduce it, right? Another way is when you have a negative mindset, when you have a pattern of constantly thinking negatively or maybe criticizing yourself a lot, instead of focusing your attention to the problem, that how can you fix it or what can you do about it, you go into depression. You start focusing more on how you're looking. You're not confident about your looks. You're not confident about yourself. And, you're constantly thinking like I have put on weight, these clothes, they don't look nice on me. These colors, they don't look nice on me. And, this is going on so much so that it starts affecting your self-esteem. And there was a time,
Yes, please continue.
Yes, there was a time I had a very negative self-talk, and ever since I've had this awareness, honestly, I have to make a conscious effort. I have to challenge those negative thoughts. Where are these coming from?
I think that really humbles us a lot, because see, yourself as a coach who has the knowledge, has the information, does this as a profession, even you're telling us that you're human. You're telling us that even you need a self-check every now and then. Sure, you might be ahead of a majority of the people, but at the same time, even you need it. And I think that's very humbling to anyone who's listening here who might be worried, like something wrong with me because I have self-talk, right? Negative self-talk rather. But I think something that we can all learn from this is that we as coaches, right, we have all the problems and challenges that you guys have. The only difference might be how we deal with it. And the reason that difference is there is because of awareness and knowledge. And that really is what these ladies are trying to do for you guys, to help you out, right? Okay, on a practical level, let's say that I wake up in the morning and I look in the mirror and I'm like, I'm fat and I'm ugly. Right?
Okay, yeah.
Now, let's say I say that, right? Now, the question I want to ask is really this. See, I can lie to myself. right? Because one of the problems I have, like when I work with people, is they talk about, positive affirmations. And a point I always bring to them is, look, positive affirmations are great if they're believable, right? For
Absolutely.
example, if
Yeah.
I'm fat and ugly and I look in the mirror in the morning and say I'm slim and sexy, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not going to believe
I would
it.
not
And I
believe
really
it.
doubt
Yeah.
that's going to. Right?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
I mean, my question is this: okay, then what do we do if we look in the mirror and we are actually fat, right? And I don't want to say we're ugly, but let's say, like, just for conversation's sake, we are
Yes.
fat and we are ugly because we're
Yes.
fat, right?
Yes.
Okay, but how can I say that in a better way?
I'll tell you. It's a really good question, to be honest, because that's where you have to work. That's where you have to make a conscious effort. See, when we look at ourselves and we are fat and ugly, like you said, now, it's up to me. If I decide today that I'm going to lose this weight, can I not? But because I'm
100%
indulging
you
in
can.
the other conversation, I'm indulging in the conversation that I'm fat and ugly. I'm constantly focusing on that rather than focusing on the problem. Can I not focus on the solution? Can I not tell myself today, because I'm fat and ugly today, I'm not going to be like this tomorrow? How about this positive affirmation? Is it not going to help us? Like if I tell myself,
Absolutely.
I'm fat and ugly today, but tomorrow is going to be I'm going to be a better person tomorrow. I lose weight. I lose this weight in this many days. Is it not achievable? When I put my heart and
100%.
mind to it, I can.
Absolutely. See, that's the type of self-talk that I like. It's practical, it's real, it's believable, and you're likely to actually act on that. And something that I always tell my clients as well is, see, we all need to make progress in order to stay motivated. One of the greatest sources of motivation is actually movement, right? Progress in the right direction. So
Absolutely.
an area that clients often struggle with is, hey, I'm doing this positive, self-talk thing, but okay, I have lost 1 kg, but I'm still 50 kg over my weight. How do I
Yes.
stay motivated, right? And one thing I always encourage them is, this is where you really, really, really need to focus your attention on the effort that you're putting in, right? And keep
Absolutely.
telling and rewarding yourself for the effort, so that your
Absolutely.
mind is more motivated to keep doing the things that you need to do to get there one day, right? One of my favorite authors, Simon Sinek, he always gives this example of going to the gym. Like he says, what does going to the gym for 9 hours for one day do to you? And the answer is nothing. It really does nothing. You're not going to look different in the mirror. You're not going to lose a kilogram, right?
Absolutely.
And he says, what does brushing your teeth twice a day for one day do? I mean, other than probably the smell, nothing else, right?
Nothing else. Yeah.
But if you go to the gym for 20 minutes for a period of 3 to 6 months and you keep doing those things, I can't tell you when, and I can't tell you exactly how much, but you will definitely get in shape. If you brush your teeth twice a day throughout your lifetime, I'm pretty confident that you're going to have healthy teeth, right? And we struggle with this when it comes to our mindset, when it comes to our personal development, especially the things that are not tangible. Now, we're talking about weight. I believe that that's far easier than even self-talk, because with your weight, at least you see it in the mirror, you see it with your clothes, but you don't see your self-talk, right? Unless you're working with a coach or you're having a diligent practice of checking yourself, like you mentioned, right?
Yes.
You're not even going to know that you have these negative patterns, or like we said at the beginning, bad code written in your subconscious mind, which plays on autopilot. And like you said, when you keep saying it, you believe it. And when you believe it, you act, think, and behave in accordance to your beliefs.
Absolutely.
All right. So we have some questions coming in. And this question actually aligns with the next question I wanted to direct to you, which was, can you give us some strategies and techniques? Because the question really is, how can you improve self-talk, right? So can you give us some practical, actionable, evidence-backed strategies that we could use to improve this inner dialogue?
Absolutely. So the very first step is to have an awareness. And I would say that practice self-awareness. How would you do that? Every time, like I said, you had an argument and now you're sitting with yourself talking. I do that a lot with myself. I have a lot of self-talk when I have an argument, right? Now there you actually notice your thought pattern, what you're focusing more on, right? So every time you're having your self-talk, you have to pay attention to your inner dialogue. You have to actually see in which direction is it going to. And we all know, that we all know when we have certain negative thoughts. Now, the second step I would say to it is that the moment you realize that you have these negative thoughts, challenge those negative thoughts. How would you do that? So let's suppose if you are having this thought that I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough. Ask yourself, where is it coming from? According to whom? Right? Because most of the time it's our own perception. And we have a habit of thinking, or I'd rather believing, that we know what other people think. But that is not true, right?
Yeah.
It's mostly our own perceptions, about everything. These negative thoughts are usually our own perceptions. So challenge your negative thoughts. Ask yourself, where is it coming from? According to whom I'm not smart, right? Then use empowering language to give yourself positive affirmations. Then again, the positive affirmations have to be realistic and believable. How would you do that? So if today you have put on weight and you definitely are not looking smart and sexy, you tell yourself that, what am I going to do about it? Yes, I realize that I have put on weight and a lot of people were saying this to me or that to me, but I know in which, where I'm struggling exactly. So you give yourself those empowering, use empowering language to give yourself those positive affirmations that are believable, right? Then as a fourth step, I suggest that practice gratitude. Start counting your, start looking at your capabilities and your strengths. It's like, have a cheerleader in your mind who reminds you of your capabilities and your strengths. Tell yourself, what are your good qualities? Okay, probably you're not looking smart and handsome or anything, but you have this amazing way of connecting with people. You have this ability that you can, you have this good energy, you have these good vibes. You can easily, make people comfortable around you. There's so many other good things that you have in you that you can focus on. And besides that, you can focus on the solution of that problem. So practice gratitude, right? And as a fifth step, I would say that visualize success. And that is really important. Now you started with having self-awareness. Now see, like when you were giving these positive affirmations to yourself that, you are this amazing person, you have this ease about you and everything. Visualize yourself being there. Let's suppose if I thought to myself that I'm fat and ugly, and then I challenged myself, I challenged my negative thought, then I practice gratitude, but then visualize yourself, okay, I'm going to lose weight, and how am I going to look when I lose weight? Visualize it. Visualize it to have it happen in your life. These things actually, when you see them as steps, you can actually not just change your self-talk for a day. If you keep practicing it, you can actually, create a mindset shift. You can start the personal transformation yourself. And if at any point of time you feel that, I start doing that, but I have a habit of going back to it again, you can always seek support from a professional. You can always seek support who can, guide you through the process.
Yeah, like I say, the mind loves repetition, and that's really how you wire anything in. And I think we're very good at this as children, because we're not worried about the judgment of people. Then as we get older and we kind of become a part of the social construct, like you said, we worry about what other people think. We worry about how we look. But something I always remind my clients of is that everybody is worried about what you are thinking about them. So how is it possible that they're actually thinking about you?
Yes.
We always have a laugh when we say that, but it's so true, right? If you're always worried about what they're thinking about you, and if you actually ask them, they'll tell you that they were worried about what you were thinking about them. So in reality, no one's thinking about anyone else, right? So we can relax and calm down and keep doing our thing. All right. So I'm going to go back to Sams, right? And the question I want to ask you is, so we've spoken a little bit about, what NLP is. We've broken it down into, an easily understandable kind of model for us. And the question I want to ask is, working with people as an NLP practitioner, right? What are some of the challenges or obstacles that people encounter generally, right, when they're trying to implement NLP for their personal growth?
I think overall, I think people are, when they come to you and their success rate of getting a good outcome, desired behavior is very high. But of course, we may encounter some obstacles as well. When people are skeptical about the effectiveness of NLP, and they don't believe in the process, and they come with the limiting minds belief that, it's not going to work on me, or I'm not going to benefit from this. This kind of mindset, it does not produce results, and it becomes a big hurdle. So you have to see that if this is the major limiting belief that they're holding, and their belief system is actually against what they are opting for, you need to make sure that they change their belief system before they jump into it. And the other thing that I've noticed is that, when people, they have a problem of blaming others. So for instance, in some pressure, or are getting tired of the current problem, they have decided to come to you. But everything that is happening in their life, they feel that, someone else is responsible for this. They do not take the responsibility. They do not they're not willing to take charge of their life. If they're coming with this mindset, and blaming others, they cannot find a solution of the problem, because you will try to shift their mindset, and they will always go back and blaming others. And the third and the most important one is secondary gain. So let me tell you what secondary gain is. Secondary gain is when a person has unconscious ulterior motive towards the current situation, or a problem, or I would say a disease that like he's sick or something, that illness that he has. And he's getting sympathy or attention because of that particular problem. And because he's getting so much attention, he would not be willing to make those changes, and he would like to stick to that problem. So these are the obstacles that we face. And of course, we give some time to the client, and we are patient with the client. But again, if the client is so obstinate, he's so stubborn, and he's like, it's not working for me, all these things, then of course we are here to guide them. We are here to guide them through the process. But in the end, it's their responsibility to step into it and make those changes.
So what you're really telling us is that, first and foremost, that when you do approach NLP, or when you do decide that you want to use this particular tool out there to help you rewire the way you think, to rewire your self-talk, is that you need to come in with the belief that this is going to work, and that you're going to apply yourself to it. But what if someone wants to try NLP, right? They genuinely want to try it, but they don't believe it. Like, they feel like this is like some woo-woo, some magical thing. You're talking about reprogramming your mind. Like, this is some, some energies, kind of like, because I know a lot of people who have that fear right now. If you understand the topic, that's different. But let's say I'm open to it. I'm open-minded, but I don't believe it, right? How do we help somebody bridge that gap?
It's a very good question. And I have faced this situation in the past where I was helping someone out of my goodwill, and I knew that that person was holding a lot of limiting belief. What I did was I spent like 2-3 sessions in just explaining the whole process scientifically, logically, because there's no magic involved in this. It's all about logic. Because as I think, as we all know, that 95% of our mind is a subconscious mind. We are storing so many things in our subconscious minds, and it is controlling our thoughts, patterns, our behaviors, everything's controlling. So if you come to me, I'll tell you how logically it is possible. And by, when you're just giving me your time, but I can promise that if it's just a misconception, it can be clear in 2 sessions, maybe in 1 session. I would be able to explain you very well that how does it work, and scientifically as well.
That's right. I mean, we witness this in all types of coaching or counseling or anything. And it always comes back to the question, like, why are we, and I don't say clients, but why are all of us as humans, we are so stubborn when it comes to changing, whether it's a belief or whether it's a way that we do things. And fundamentally, it goes back to comfort, because we as human beings, we really value comfort. And a change in belief, or a change in technique, or a change in system always brings about uncertainty. And uncertainty is always something that is uncomfortable for us, because we don't know what it is, what to expect, how it will affect us.
Right.
And because of this reason, we try to hold on to our old ways, our old beliefs, our old habits, right? Even maybe, the old customers or clients or, employers that we have been working with. And it really stems back to that overvalue or the overvaluation that we have for comfort. But we all know that growth lies at the edge of your comfort and not within. But okay, so I also wanted to ask you in terms of NLP, because I understand that there might be people here who are aware of NLP, but there are also some lesser known techniques with NLP that might not be mainstream, that might not be on the 30-second Instagram reel that you see, right? But can you share with us some of the lesser known, say, techniques with NLP that maybe in your experience you have found your clients have witnessed a major mindset shift because of this, or completely changed their lives for that matter? Something of that nature.
Oh,
I'd
yes.
like to, Sabahat, you would like to go ahead with this?
So Nazia, I think will answer because she is very passionate about this particular topic. So I think Nazia
The
should
stage is
answer.
all yours, Nazia.
Yes. Yes, I think I feel that timeline therapy is one of those NLP tools or techniques, you can say, that is really lesser known and has a
So I'm
profound
going to
impact
pause you
on
there
mental
to be
health.
sure, because I know many people did not hear that.
Okay.
Can you tell us the name of that technique again? I'm going to type it in the chat box as well.
All right. So it's timeline therapy. Okay. It's one of NLP tools or techniques, you can say, timeline therapy. And basically, why I'm so passionate
Is it
to
like
talk
my
about
Facebook timeline? Or is it different?
Your personal timeline, from your childhood to your whatever
fine.
age you are, right? So
Right.
I can explain a bit more about it, because like Sabahat told you that I'm really passionate to talk about this. So as we all know that we have a subconscious mind, and we use our mind around 90 to 95% of the time we use our mind at a subconscious level, which means since the day you were conceived till the day you die, everything is being stored in your subconscious mind. All your experiences throughout your life, it's being stored in your subconscious mind. Now what happens is that a lot of people, sometimes they go through some harsh breakups, childhood trauma. They could have a painful divorce or any kind of negative experience in their life, right? Sometimes what happens is that on the face of it, you have overcome that problem in your life, or you have kind of brushed it under the carpet. But because of that particular significant memory from the past, it may not be at a conscious level, but it's still bringing a lot of negative emotion to your current life. So what happens is that if there is a certain trigger, I'll give you an example. So let's suppose if a child was abused, all right, in the past, and maybe that particular incident was not too significant for people to notice, but because of holding on to negative emotions from the past, from that particular event, this person is now unable to get married. There are a lot of people who sometimes they're resistant to get married. They're having good relationships with people. Where is it coming from? Maybe on the face of it, that person has completely brushed it under the carpet. The person is like, they don't even remember that it happened. But from that particular incident, you're still carrying a lot of negative emotion. So your timeline is what? Since the day you were born till the day you die, that's your timeline, right? From the past to the future, and somewhere in between you're standing in the present. So in the timeline therapy, we take the people to those events in the past, and we help them release negative emotions. There are like 5 negative emotions that a person can hold on to. Those 5 negative, I'll tell you. One is anger. So sometimes it happens, a lot of anger that is, people are feeling really angry all the time, and they don't know where is it coming from. But probably there's some childhood trauma, there's some childhood experience, or maybe not even childhood, maybe in adolescence they experienced bullying and they're experiencing, some kind of negative emotion right now. So there are 5 negative emotions that people can actually take a look at, like anger, sadness, hurt, fear, and guilt. So a person, from one memory, a person can be having all these 5 negative emotions. I can repeat that for the audience. The anger, sadness, hurt, fear, and guilt. These are basically 5 emotions. A person can have all these 5 emotions present in that particular memory, or could be that anger is huge, and that from that memory, the anger is huge, or maybe some guilt is there. So the thing is, we help people, we take them back to that event through timeline therapy, and we help them release these negative emotions. And by releasing these negative emotions, actually, they kind of get a closure. They get positive learnings from those experiences, and they get a kind of closure from that experience. The best part about timeline therapy is that the results are sustainable. When you actually work on something, it's going to be there for life. Another best part about timeline therapy is, so let's suppose if somebody had a really traumatic experience in the past, and that traumatic experience, they don't want to share it with someone. They probably, there's something that they feel ashamed of, and they have not even spoken about it with the parents or the siblings, right? And there's a lot of negative emotion in that event. The best part about timeline therapy is that as a coach, you don't have to share the story. You don't have to share that event with me, and still I can help you release negative emotion from that event.
How?
Yes, that's the best part about it. Because now how we do it is that we take you to that event in a way. Of course, there's a certain way of doing that. And we basically, you visualize everything. So you visualize that event. Now, because you're visualizing that event, it's your private event, and I don't need to know. You will just share with me which emotion you're experiencing in that moment of time. So if you're experiencing anger, I will help you release anger from that event. You will take out a lot of positive learnings from that event that will actually help you let go of that anger completely. So what happens is, the best part about timeline therapy is that the emotion is there, the problem is there, and we are helping you with it, and yet you don't have to share that private moment of yours. And it has such a profound impact on a mindset shift, I would say. People feel, after timeline therapy, people feel that a lot of weight has been lifted off their shoulders, really. They feel like they feel the freedom. They feel that, that burdening thought that they have been carrying for so long, that emotional baggage they have been carrying for so long, they're rid of it today. And it gives them a lot of perspective, and a lot of, they're able to see clearly. They're able to focus their energy on things that are coming their way.
Wow, I think that technique is something that definitely isn't something that's commonly heard. I'm sure that everyone in this gathering as well would agree that maybe even they've heard of NLP, but not really of timeline therapy. Sure, they've heard of timeline on social media, but that's probably as far as it goes. But it's fascinating to know that there's so much going on inside of our minds, and if I'm not mistaken, somewhere like between 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day, right? And even if I ask someone to list 20 to 25 of the thoughts they've had today, they would struggle to list it with accuracy, right? And just to think that could be so much of bad code written in your subconscious mind that's making you think, act, and behave in ways that are not helping you, that are not moving you towards your goals, that are not helping you be of value to the people that you love, the causes that you care, right? And sometimes you aren't even aware that they exist, right? And you resort to blaming other people. You resort to blaming the government, the economy, the systems, the environment, everything around you, right? Which, by the way, I always tell my clients, they all do play a role, but focus on what you can control. Right? Don't focus on what you can't control, because you're putting yourself in a powerless position, right? So we pay so much of attention to all of that, the excuses, as we say. And like we commonly say in life coaching, that whatever you focus on, that's where your energy goes, right? So if you keep focusing on the fact that it was your brother's fault, right, or your partner's fault, that's where your energy is going to go, and it's going to help you generate more anger, more hate, and more resentment. And if you really stop and ask yourself the question, what is that doing? Who is it helping? Is it solving the problem? Do I feel good when I feel angry towards them? Do I feel good when I yell at other people? Right? And if you really keep your hand on your heart and ask that question, it's never a positive outcome whenever you yell at someone or shout at them. You often then look for ways to justify why you shouted at them. And the reason you look for the justification is not for them. It's for you to feel good about yourself. Exactly, right? So everyone knows that, but we do it. And it's crazy to think, though, when we have proven techniques out here, when we have practitioners like you guys out there willing to help people, that sometimes we are so stubborn, or sometimes even so caught up in the day-to-day, that we don't stop to even try a session out, just one session out, see where it goes, or one or two sessions out, right? And I really hope that everyone listening here is grasping that concept behind all of this, substance that we are speaking about. Because at the end of the day, if you guys came here and you listened to 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or the whole session, and you go back to living exactly the way you were living, this was an absolute waste of your time, right? At the very least, the three of us benefited, because we are reminding ourselves of the concepts and what we do, why we do. And for me personally, as a coach, I feel so good knowing that we are in a position to help people to that extent, because it, like you guys mentioned, this connects to our purpose, right? Why we do what we do, right? Yeah. So I just want to bring this next question to Nazia, right? Or rather, sorry, I will bring the last question to the both of you, and we can end on that. Right, and guys, don't worry. I can see some of you are putting some questions. These questions, after I ask these ladies, you guys can go ahead and ask any questions, and we will see how best we can answer those, right? Okay, so now we've spoken about what NLP is. We've tried to understand at a very fundamental level how you've got bad code being written into your subconscious mind. This is deciding how you use your mind, and as a result, you have the outcomes, good or bad. So garbage in, garbage out, if you've got bad code written in. And then we've spoken about some techniques that you guys as coaches can walk your clients through, right? And a disclaimer to each and everyone out there, guys, don't try to use these techniques by yourself, right? Some of these require a level of depth, experience, understanding, and knowledge that these ladies have invested their life into to understand. So just like you wouldn't read a book about surgery and then go and perform surgery, I would advise you not to merely try and do these techniques at a deep level, right? Seek professional help. But that being said, right, for the people who are here today, are there some tools or techniques that they can use by themselves on a practical level to start benefiting their lives from this very moment? And you guys can take turns and answer this one, because I'm sure you'll have a wealth of information to add to this.
So I'll go ahead first. My personal, there are 2-3 things which I do myself on a regular basis, which elevates my energy, my mood, and it increases my energy. Number one is, again, we talked about positive affirmations before as well. Let me tell you how you can do it practically and by yourself. So you have to take a piece of paper, write down all those things that you want in you in the present form. Like,
I'm going to pause you there just for one moment, right? Because you said something very important, and I want to be sure people caught it. Why do I need to use a pen and paper? Why can't I just think it in my head?
That's a very good question, and I'll give you answer for that as well. Because if you will think in your head, you might forget next time that what did you tell yourself. And if you want to feed yourself something on repeatedly, because your subconscious mind needs repetition, if you will not repeat those things, your subconscious mind will forget it. So that's the reason of writing down on a piece of paper first. And some people come to me and they say that we don't know how to write these positive affirmations. First, that you cannot write these positive affirmations in a no form. I would say I can't do it, I don't need it. There's a reason for it, because our subconscious mind does not process negatives. So if I tell you, don't look at the blue tree, what comes in your head, right? So we have to make sure the blue tree. So we have to make sure that all the positive affirmations that we want to give ourselves, they should be in a positive form. So
I'm going to pause you again there, because this concept that you're describing was something I even recently heard one of the leading hypnotherapists in the world speaking about. So this lady helps people direct the body's energy towards healing, right? Even at a biological level. And again, people will be like, that sounds like magical woo-woo. But when she actually explains it, it makes perfect sense, right? Your mind commands your body. And if you can teach your mind to command it to do something, it will do it. Right? Yes. We all know that person who just wakes up at 4 a.m. no matter what. And they weren't always like that, but they programmed it over a period of time. Like you said, repetition, so much of repetition that they even wake up, right? Their body clocks are set. They don't even need an alarm. They wake up at the exact time, they go to sleep, just like a program that has been written, right? And this point that you mentioned about not speaking to your subconscious mind in the negatives because it cannot understand that was something that she mentioned as well. And the reason I'm pausing here is I feel like sometimes these things brush over people's head, right? So they might wake up tomorrow and be like, I don't want to miss my workout ever again, or I am not going to do it, like in that form. So can you explain a little bit more so it really sinks into people here? Why can't we say don't or won't or anything in the negative? Why does it have to be like practically? How does that play out? Because I really want to be sure they get this.
Yeah. So let me tell you, when everything that we're storing in our subconscious mind, and because subconscious mind is like 95% of mind, it's on a huge, it's taking a big chunk of our brain. So if you are telling yourself not, and you're just saying it, your subconscious mind is as not taking it. Like, for instance, if I tell a child, don't cry, the child will cry because the child cannot understand don't cry, and it is saying in his head that don't cry means cry.
Sorry,
cry.
I have to pause you there and remind the adults, because when I work with some couples and with some people who are in relationships, I come across this, and I always tell them, if your partner is shouting, don't or they're angry, the worst thing you can say is don't be angry. Because it's not going to help, right?
No,
because
sorry,
I just want to put so yeah, not only for children, guys, even for you and I, if somebody's emotional, don't try to make their emotion invalid, right? I mean, first make them feel seen, heard, and acknowledge that that's happening, and then try to shift energy. The worst way you can navigate an argument is to say don't be angry. That makes you more angry. But I'm sorry, please continue. Why can't we do it?
So that's one thing. And if, for instance, the practical positive affirmations, you said that they have to be practical. How I can guide you a little bit, how can you do it? So if you have a habit of procrastination, you would not write that I don't want to procrastinate. You write, I feel motivated. In what area do you procrastinate? You have to say, I feel motivated while going to school or going for my work, or, so these kind. If you will tell yourself repeatedly on a regular basis, your mind, it will become your reality. Because one more good thing about subconscious mind is that it cannot differentiate between the reality and the imagination. So whatever you're feeding your mind, it becomes your reality. So if you're giving your mind this instruction over the period of 1 month, 2 months, it will become your reality, and you start feeling motivated to do that particular thing. So first, you don't have to write it in can. It has to be in a positive form. It has to be realistic. And if you think when someone comes to me with that they can't write it, I guide them, but they have to use their own linguistic. Otherwise, they cannot resonate with it. And they write it on a piece of paper, but it doesn't end over here. So some people, they like to listen to things. They don't like to read things on a daily basis. So I ask them what kind of mode they are interested in. If you like to write them on a piece of paper, you have to read them like 3 to 4 times in a day, most especially in the morning, first thing in the morning and last thing at night. And if you don't like to read them and you like to listen to them, grab your phone, record yourself, record all your positive vibrations on the phone, and you can listen to them like 3 to 4 times a day. Make it a habit and listen to them over the period of 1 month, 2 months. I can bet on that they will start producing results just by doing themselves without any coach's help.
Wow.
Yeah. And the other thing that Nazia also mentioned is that write a gratitude journal, write your blessings. Why do we write our blessings? Because if you will check your journal like 2-3 months back, and you see the number of blessings you received in that time, the blessings will increase, dramatically. The blessings will increase. You will just, note down your blessings on a piece of paper. I don't know how it works, but I've experienced it myself. I've told my clients to do it, and they enjoy this whole process. And the last
absolutely, I can attest to that as well. Something I have done, and I continue to do, and I feel a significant difference. I always tell people, people always ask me how I always stay committed to working out, and the truth is, it's harder for me to not work out than work out. And I don't mean that from an effort or an exhaustion point of view, but when you build a certain level of physical fitness and you experience the support it gives you in your life, in your relationships, in your thoughts, in managing your emotions, in being sharp and being top of your game, you will never stop. And
Absolutely.
I can say the same for writing a gratitude journal. There was a time that I went through a very difficult period in which I began this gratitude journal, right? And being the human being that I am, once things got better, I stopped it, right? Big mistake. And in that moment that I stopped, I noticed a drastic shift in my entire life. Because when I'm operating from a sense of abundance, the way I think, act, and behave, how calm I am, right? The ability for me to think clearly was significantly different to when I was operating from a scarcity mindset. And I feel one of the huge contributors to that was writing down the blessings that I had in my life. So again, I regardless of how it works, I can attest to that. And you had one more point you wanted to add, please.
Yes. It's the one more thing which is very amazing results is like meditation, mindfulness meditation. So people cannot stop thinking. People have a habit of overthinking, and they say that it's difficult for them to meditate, to sit and relax. What is meditation? Sit and relax. So I always tell them to start with 10 minutes. It's very simple. You have to sit in a quiet place, hold on to your thoughts, listen to your favorite nature music, and again, all the positive affirmations that you have given yourself, just focus on those positive affirmations. It's your time. You have to basically regenerate your body. You have to refresh yourself for all the things that are waiting for us. They can wait. But if you will not relax yourself, if you will not calm down yourself, you cannot offer anything to others. So you have to take out time, prioritize yourself. If you're very busy, you can start with 10 minutes, and people enjoy this whole process. So they increase the time, it may increase it to 30 minutes. It's up to you, but take out time for mindfulness meditation, relax your mind, hold on to your thoughts. And, you can, another tip that I can add to it, that if you cannot, it doesn't come naturally to you, you can construct a state by adding a place in your mind that makes you relaxed, by adding a sound to it that keeps you relaxed, and by adding, things of affirmations that makes you relax, and start with 10 minutes, and then you can increase the time.
Baby steps.
I would like to add one thing here, is that besides everything that Sabahat suggested, the first 1 hour after we wake up in the morning, regardless of what time you have set for yourself, but the first 1 hour and the last 1 hour before going to bed, I would say that try to consume positive content. In terms of how, a lot of people who have a habit of checking their phones first thing in the morning, and there are some people who like to check the news. Try to make sure that whatever you're looking at or listening to, it has positive content. I don't know about everyone, but if we check the news, mostly there are a lot of, depressing things that, these news channels have to tell you about. So try to refrain from anything that has aggression in it, that has violence in it, that has negative content in it. Try to make sure, because according to NLP, like subconscious mind has this ability that the first hour in the morning is that part of the time where your mind is really, absorbing everything fast. It's fresh in a way. So try. There are a lot of people who have the religious practices. They can have those, and people then again can make sure, they listen to they can listen to their favorite, motivational speaker in the morning on the commute to work. Probably can listen to some motivational speaker. Anything positive, anything that can give you, and a positive outlook to life, give you a new perspective, instead of, consuming negative content in the morning. And it's also before going to bed, make sure that last 1 hour you try to detach yourself from your gadgets. At least make it 30 minutes that you detach yourself from the gadget. Maybe read a nice book, or just do something to relax yourself, then go to bed, and you will see how the quality of your sleep has improved significantly. And when you do that kind of a routine in the morning, you will see how the quality of day has improved. So these two things I would like to add.
Yeah, I think one of the important things in terms of what you mentioned, the first hour and the last hour of your day, and I think really, from a very practical point of view, these are the 2 hours in your day where you have the highest probability to have some control in your life, because that whole middle portion, it always ends up being very reactive. Maybe what your boss wants, your kids want, etc., husband, wife, whatever that might be. It's always like firefighting. But it's very difficult to kind of in today's world, and with all of the responsibilities that you guys have and everyone else has, to kind of live a Zen mode throughout your entire day. And that's not a practical state that we're trying to achieve here. But in order to bring some level of stillness and calmness and some greater focus on what direction am I going to approach this day as a more focused, centered, calm person, and we can really set that tone. And as you mentioned, because that first hour is an area where your subconscious mind is being, I would say, prompted and being directed in what direction are you going to head today.
Yes.
And whatever comes your way, at least you have prepped yourself and prepared yourself to remember, hold on, right? Remember, like we discussed in the morning, we're not going to panic here, we're not going to raise our voice here, we're going to operate from a state of calmness, right? And gives you some fighting chance to kind of face this, uncertainty that you have in the world head on with a positive mindset, like you mentioned. And like you said, that last 1 hour again, to really calm yourself down, and even an opportunity for you to reflect and see how did you fare today, what can you do different tomorrow, and put things into perspective so you can sleep peacefully, like you said, right? And I just want to now bring a bit of attention to the questions that people have asked. We had one question being asked from the both of you, and you can choose who would like to answer. But what are some good sources to learn more about NLP? Obviously, other than the both of you.
Yes, I mean, to be honest, you can find a lot about it on the internet. Like everyone likes to Google things, right? But yet, to make it simple for you, I would then again say, like Sabahat said, that to make it simple for you, you just need to understand. First, try to understand why you want to use it. If you're curious about NLP, ask yourself why you want to use it. This is the very first question, which will give you some direction, because of course on the internet you can find too much information, but which direction you're heading to. And the best part, see, if you want to know more about it, you can always book a free discovery call. So like because we want to help people, we encourage people that if you have any question and you don't want to book a session, how can you get into something when you don't know about it? Just book a free session, ask us, and we can answer all your questions that you may have regarding this. Because of course, otherwise, internet is the place where you get all the information from.
Absolutely.
But yes, if you want to know specifically how you wanted to use it, then you can definitely get in touch with us, and we can give all the information.
Yes, and for those of us asking those questions, I would really encourage you to do that. I mean, look, you've got a free session anyway. It's nothing for you to really lose. You just invest your time, and at the very least, you would have learned something out of it. So don't be scared. I mean, I'm pretty sure by listening to these ladies, you'd understand they don't bite, right? They're not dangerous. So book that session, spend a couple of minutes with them. If you don't like it, if it's not working for you, that's fine, right? So you can just try it out, give it a shot, because I do agree that all of this information is available. And even if not Google, we can use our newfound best friend and most productive employee, ChatGPT. But again, the thing with ChatGPT is the quality of your output is dependent on the quality of the input, right? It tells you what it asks. But a coach, an experienced professional who has a broader perspective, may know a better question to ask. They may not have the answer, but they can ask a better question that can lead you to a better answer, right? So that's why I would encourage you guys to take them up on that offer. Okay, the next question was, what happens if you have this fear that stops you from visualizing what you want? Like, you are scared if you may get hurt by hoping for it. Very deep question. Who would like to answer this?
I will answer this question. It's just that, and it's a good question, because if you're saying that you can't meditate and because there's fear, it's a strong negative emotion. It's a very strong, you need to overcome this. You need to face your fear first. Of course, I'm not saying that you just do it yourself, but of course you have to address this fear. If you will not address this fear, it will turn into phobia eventually, and it will create more problems to you. So this is a different problem. That fear is called, you have a lot of fear and you can't meditate. But again, the same tips that I just gave earlier, I would stick to those tips that I think that give you can some clarity on how to meditate, just 10 minutes, start with 10 minutes, the things that you do.
Also, also I'd like to say one thing here, like you mentioned fear, and like you don't know where is it coming from. Like earlier I talked about, so there are a lot of things that happen in the past and that give this negative emotion to you, and you don't know where is it coming from. So the right thing to do is to find out the root cause for that problem. Where is it arising from?
So there you go, guys. I mean, if you have that fear or any fear in your area, maybe visualizing something, you're worried about going to that state because you don't know how you feel, and if you have that fear, I think one of the best things you can do is get the help of someone who can hold your hand to get there, right? Show you the way, show you the ropes a couple of times. And just like anything in life, I mean, obviously, if I ask you to learn to swim by yourself, it's a pretty scary thing, jumping into water and learning to swim. But if you had a coach with you who could maybe show you some of the moves, give you one of those floating boards to start off with, and then once and the irony is I actually can't swim. But anyway, so like if you have someone who can guide you and help you into it, it becomes a little less scarier over time. So I hope that answers your question. So the next question is, please tell us a technique on how to make a habit of meditating. I do it for the weekend and then leave it. Consistency is missing. I think the answer and the question is there, but I'll let you guys answer that.
Sabahat,
so basically the question is
very passionate to talk about meditation. So I would
go for it. How can we make meditation a way of life for a habit, rather?
So this is something that we need to practice on a daily basis. If we think that we can practice meditation on one day of a week and then we will produce the results of that meditation throughout the week, it is quite impossible. Actually, you need to that's where the time period comes. You decide that how long you can do it. If you are able to increase the attention span, the state of relaxation, the kind of state you want to create for the day, you don't need to spend a lot of time to meditate. So I suggest that you should do it every day. Make it a habit. I know it will be difficult because when we add something to a routine that we are not doing, and we feel initially that how should we take out time for this? We need to, if we feel the importance of that particular thing, we need to prioritize this thing and then add it to our list of the chores that we do every day. It's like a chore that we do.
I would like to add one more thing here.
Yes.
I would like to add one more thing here. Like she said, she starts it on the weekend and is unable to do it during the weekdays. I think that's what her question is, right? I would recommend you one thing here. You decide, you basically look at your schedule and see what is that time of the day where you actually, get some time for yourself. So it doesn't have to be necessarily in the morning initially. What you can do is probably there's some time of the day where you actually get some time for yourself. It could be any time throughout the day. So first try to fix that particular time for yourself. Start meditating in that moment of time. And from there on, when you actually develop a habit of meditating, it will come easy to you if you do it, if you shift it to any time of the day then.
Absolutely, yeah. See, I think that's the thing. The question is essentially asking, how do you make anything a habit in your life, right? That's literally what the question is. Sure, we're filling it in with meditation, but anything in life. And as always, that first period, that first stretch, it's going to feel more like a task, right? It's not going to come naturally. And the thing is, even when it comes to the benefit of meditation or the benefit of visualization or the benefit of gratitude, even for you to actually start feeling the benefit, it takes a bit of time. Right? Yeah. It's like the gym. Absolutely. Just because you go and lift for one day, your muscle doesn't get bigger. But when you do it for a bit of time and you can see your muscles getting bigger in the mirror, or you're getting stronger, losing weight, it naturally motivates you to keep going. Yes. Right? So I think where a lot of us struggle in establishing a habit is always the beginning period, right? Making it through the discomfort, right? Doing it even though we don't feel like it, because this stuff is not fun, it's not sexy. You want benefit, but you're not willing to kind of put in the work, right? So I think not just with meditation, but with any habit, that definitely is an area that people will struggle with. Okay, so we have one correction on the earlier question. I think what they were asking was not having the fear to meditate, but the fear of visualizing. So I think what they're really referring to is when we try to close our eyes and maybe think about me being successful or me looking a certain way, they're having somewhat of a mental block of getting there because they're scared or worried what that might look like, feel like, or maybe it's self-doubt. I don't know. So how do we address that situation as well, what they're asking essentially?
I would say that in this scenario, then again, like previously I said, there are so many questions that we can ask here, because like to answer this, that, okay, somebody's having a certain kind of fear of visualizing themselves. I would rather, that this person, whoever this person is, definitely can, sit for a discovery call to discover more to this problem. Because like on the face of it, it's just a fear of visualizing something, but there's something deeper that is causing that fear. And the right answer is to find the root cause first. So for now, I would say there is no right answer to this, because I can assure her that there is more to it. There is a mental block. There might be a limiting belief. There might be many other reasons which are causing this particular problem, and that's why we said, like, a lot of things are coming from the past, and they are holding us here. And we are unable to do something.
Yeah, it will be unfair to give a very generic answer over here, because it will make her more confused about this whole thing.
I can agree to that 100%. All right. So Nuha is asking us, what are the benefits of an early morning start? And it's more of a generic question, not necessary to NLP. But in your experience, ladies, I'm going to speak a lot about this in my post podcast and all of that. But what's your personal take on this? What's the benefit of having an early morning start?
Nazia, you want to go ahead?
And yes, absolutely. See, I don't know. It's different for different people. Personally, I've been doing both the things. Let's say there are times when I get a chance to kind of sleep until late in the morning, maybe, and feel that I'm really enjoying it. But on a regular basis, honestly, what I feel is that when you start your day late, you end your day late as well, right? Even if you research, scientifically, if you actually check the successful people, if you check the routines, you will see that they sleep very early at night, and they sleep and they get up early in the morning. Even more important than this is that you have a set routine. Whatever time you decide to, go to bed in the night, try to make sure that you're going to bed at that time in the night, and you're trying to wake up the same time in the morning. This is also, I would say there are a lot of health benefits to it. Then again, you have a certain routine to follow. There are a lot of health benefits to it, not just in the NLP sense. And then again, like we said, starting your morning early, then again, you have a lot of time that probably if you're starting your day early, and there's so many things that you do after maybe 10 a.m., you're getting some time for yourself. Give that time to yourself.
Absolutely.
Try doing those things that you otherwise don't get time to do.
Of course. Like you mentioned, there are many health benefits, things to do with our circadian rhythm, the internal body clock, the hormone balance in your body, how much energy you have in the day. All of these are affected. And obviously, this is not the time and place for us to go deep into the science behind that. But I think one of the things from a mindset point of view that is so obvious, but we seem to miss it, is that when you wake up early and you've done all of these things and you've prepared yourself for the day, whenever crisis hits, you're prepared, you're ready, and you're centered.
That's
right? You're prepared, you're ready, and you're centered. And even you as an individual, begin your day by feeling like you've already accomplished something, which gives you a sense of positivity, a bit more self-belief, that equips you better to face all of the chaos that unfolds as the day goes on. So like you mentioned, so many, like, even non-scientific, but it's just practical, logical benefits to waking up early. But along with that comes the obvious one, which is what you mentioned, you must also sleep early, because otherwise what happens is you're not going to get the rest that you need for your mind to develop, right? And for you to pretty much be your best. We just have one more question. And this question is a generic one again, not necessarily NLP, but maybe there's even a solution inside of it. And that's the focus crisis that we as humanity are facing, right? I like to call it the focus crisis, because there's two problems here. On one end, you have all the big corporations and organizations in the world pumping the majority of their money to devise different ways to retain our attention, right? Yes. And you see this in the algorithms of social media as only one example, right? And then on the other side of the coin, there's you and I, right? The consumer, who is fighting to try to decide in a given day when you have a limited amount of attention and energy and focus, right? We feel like we are being robbed, right? These companies, people, even your colleagues and even your family, everyone's fighting for your energy and attention. Right? So how can we better manage this focus from 2 points of view, right? Number one, how can we improve our focus so we have a larger reservoir to pull from? But at the end of the day, you will never have enough focus to do everything in the world, right? So how can I manage the then developed reservoir that I have in the smartest or most efficient way that I can?
So I'll give the first half of the answer, and I think Nazia will see that
Beautiful.
how can we increase it. So
we can end with.
Yes, the question is that how can we increase our focus, or how can we choose where to focus on? Again, this is a very common problem in teenagers these days because of the gadgets. They are consuming the content on the internet. They say that it's very accessible, and when they want to wind down and take a break from all the work stress and study stress, and they do it, but in this process they waste a lot of time, and without even realizing, and they regret a lot by the end of the day. What I suggest here is that the good thing is that if someone comes to you with a realization that they're wasting or spending a lot of time on the things that are not producing results, so you have to take out those distractions from your life. Of course, if you have TikTok or something on your phone, and if you're having exams, delete it from your phone. And of course, it will make you angry a little bit because the amount of dopamine you're getting from that particular thing, it will be not be coming initially, but then your body will get used to it. Shift your focus on things that produce results actually. When you have time in summer holidays, you can go back to the old habits, that's fine. But that for that period of time, you have to shift your focus. Realization is the first step. Write down where am I wasting my money, exclude those things from your list, and then create a more focused, a day for you. Yeah,
I would say prioritize.
So
to bring the focus to your life, I tell you, prioritize. First make a list of things that are taking up your time all day. Then prioritize what I really wish to do, what I have to do. There are chores that you cannot leave. There are things that you cannot avoid. And then there are things that we do for pleasure, like spending time on social media and, all of those things. Then probably we can still do those things, but limit our time. We can create reminders for ourselves. So prioritize, how can you bring your focus to life? How can you focus on things? I would say prioritize. Make a list of things that you actually have to do during the day. There are chores that are unavoidable. Yes, make a list, all of them. And then there are so many things that you will realize that you are getting some time, even, that you can do things for yourself, like going out to a gym, or maybe, going for a walk, or doing something that you do for yourself. But otherwise, you're not doing it because you feel that throughout the day I was very busy. But then probably just sit down with yourself first and write down whatever you do in the day. And that's where you will actually be able to, find out where is your time kind of going away from you.
Absolutely. And I think, like you correctly mentioned throughout this entire session, awareness is a starting point. If you're not even aware of these things, good luck trying to change anything, right? You've got to first be aware there's a problem. Then you've got to take accountability, like you kept saying again and again, because if you don't take responsibility, if you're not the reason, then you don't have the power to change it, right? And the moment you take responsibility, that automatically gives you also the ability to make the change, right? So, and then we had a bit of feedback on the answer that you gave, that what if it's not about, focus in general, but focus just before you start a task. And I think one thing we need to remember there is you need to look at it like a workout, right? When you come to the gym, you don't just go to the weights, right? You dedicate a portion of time for a thing called a warm-up or an activation, which prepares your body to be able to perform the workout. And focus is really the same thing. See, if you want to focus on a task, and just before that, you're scrolling on TikTok from one post to the other, one post to the other, one post to the other, you're training your mind to be hasty, right? To be fast, right? To switch rapidly between things. And then you want to suddenly just put this down and open the book, and you're wondering, why is it difficult for me to focus? It's like trying to just jump into the gym and smash some weights. It's not how it works. You need to warm yourself up. You may be someone who's focused, but I think that's another thing we all really forget sometimes. We look at some people who exercise or who eat clean, and we think that they're just like that, meaning
It comes
The
easy to
moment they
them.
sit down,
We feel that
yeah,
it comes easy
exactly.
to them.
So exactly. So you might go to work and you might see this gentleman or lady who's so focused at the office, and
Yes.
you immediately assume that they just got down from the car and sat in the office and they're focused. But what you don't know is they woke up a couple of hours before you, they did their meditation, they reminded themselves who they are, what their life is about, what's important to them. They already set an intention: today at work I will be focused. And then they sat, and here there's you who woke up late, rushed up, got ready, ran to work, sat down, remembered 100 things you forgot, and then you look at that person and think, wow, they have so much of focus. They don't have focus, they created focus.
Yeah,
right.
I
So
agree.
I think that's a point that I myself sometimes, fall into that trap of, we just make a snap comparison, like, wow, they're fit, or wow, they're so disciplined, or wow, they have so much energy, or wow, whatever. But what you don't see is the BTS behind the scenes, right?
Yes.
What they
Yeah,
did
absolutely.
before
Yeah.
you, the number of years or reps or work that they put into, the time that they chose to sleep when you chose to stay up late watching a movie, right? Or the time that they decided to wake up early when you decided to sleep a couple of hours in, right? And
Absolutely.
neither of these are right or wrong. I always tell people, like, it's not wrong that you're waking up late, but it's a matter of what you want. Like you all very correctly said, prioritize. Be clear on who you are, what you value, what you want, then adjust your input in accordance with that.
Yes.
The problem is not when you don't have these things or when you have these things. The problem is when you want one thing, but you're doing something else.
And
That's
you're
where the
unable to
problem
achieve
is.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. That's where the frustration kicks in,
Yeah.
right? So we have one more question that came in about better managing your social media time so you don't get addicted. I think that was answered in a roundabout way, but what I'll do is you guys can just, if you can type in the chat box your Instagram handle, right? I've tagged you guys on my post as well, but just in case someone missed it, just leave it here, guys. You guys can reach out directly to these ladies. Being the wonderful souls that they are, I'm sure they will answer you and help you out. And if you have any further questions, you can leave that there. Just in the best interest of time, we will end. We've spent about 1.5 hours answering you guys' questions, giving you clarity. So I think it's time we pull the plug on this one. But please, you have the social media handles. Reach out to these ladies. And please, my encouragement to you guys is, if you're scared, if you're not sure, if you want more information, they're willing to give you a free session. So I don't really see what's stopping you, other than, of course, the first point that they mentioned. If you don't want to change, they cannot help you.
Yeah.
Right. So guys, yes, I was about to say, before we end, I want to give both of you one more opportunity for some closing remarks. And in that, I want to challenge you by giving you this thought. Imagine someone logged into this session just now, right? They didn't hear anything. Or the people who were here from the start but weren't focusing, right? Whichever category. And you could end this session today with only one piece of insight, advice, or information. What would that be? So you can add any of your closing remarks, but add this one as well.
Yeah. So I tell this to myself and to others also, that I am responsible for my own happiness. So I have to, I'm not relying on anybody for my happiness. I can do whatever, I can create anything in my life, and I'm happy to do every day.
Powerful.
Yes. And I would say have self-awareness. Know yourself first. You know, this is the start. This is the start of everything. First, you try to know yourself first. Where you are, where you want to be. And then choose the process. If you're content with whatever you're doing, with wherever you are, if you're in the happy place, then good, nothing to change. But if you feel that, yes, there's so many things I want to work on, prioritize, choose for one thing at a time. And then definitely work on it. You can achieve whatever you put your mind and heart to.
Nazia and Sabah, I just want to thank the both of you from the bottom of my heart, and thank all of the people who are here today, and also to value the time that you guys have invested here, because it's a start and it shows that you value your personal development, which is why you chose to be here on a Saturday afternoon when you could have been doing anything else, right? And kudos to you and congratulations to you guys for that. You have the handle of these wonderful ladies. Reach out to them, ask them the questions, get their help. Remember, the best of the best in the world get help. They don't do it alone. All right.
Thank you
An
so
easy
much for
example.
having us, Shoaib. I mean, it was a
Yeah.
pleasure to be a part of this conversation. And thank you once again. You conducted it
Thank
so
you so much.
perfectly, I would
Yeah.
say, actually getting into the crux of everything. So really, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah,
And it was
thank
a
you
pleasure
for
to be a part of this,
yeah,
really.
yeah. Thank you for giving
It was
this opportunity to explain to people what NLP is. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Thank
it
you.
was honestly a pleasure of mine, for two reasons. Number one is it serves my purpose, which is to inspire, educate, and empower people on their journey to becoming their best version. And anything that facilitates that is something I'm happy to do. And second of all, it was for my own selfish reasons, like I said at the start, because I sat here and asked you guys everything that I wanted to ask, to learn and develop myself, and use that to help my clients as well. So thank you guys once again. And thank you to everyone who joined in. Please reach out to them, stay in touch. Don't be scared to take that step. And we look forward to maybe having more sessions in the future on
Sure.
we can take up some of the topics that people asked and go a little bit deeper into it. But by far and large, thank you so much for giving us an understanding of NLP and some of the techniques that we can use. But above all, thank you for your time.